Hello, hello. So today we have a product manager. Yeah, I know product manager काफी you know viral term चलता रहता है LinkedIn पे. So today we have a product manager from a top MNC, actually a number one company in the CRM, which is none other than Salesforce. So today we have Lucky Thakkar. So I'll let you do your intro in detail.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Ayush. Honor to be here. And thanks for giving a good intro for the company. And as you said, it is a viral title these days, but rest assured, it is not an easy one to get. So, with that, I'll just share a little bit about my journey. So, I started with a partner company of Salesforce, which is now known as Conger, previously known as Aptis. There, I started as associate consultant engineer. Then I moved up to become a business analyst. I joined Salesforce as a senior BA and then accepted the offer for product manager. Currently, I am an AI product manager. So, yes, another buzzword for you. And although these have been like the titles that I have had, the project roles, which are also on paper, obviously, have been pretty different. I went from being a developer to a team tech lead, and I have also been a technical architect. At one point in time, I was like, okay, this is something which is challenging, but I also feel a little confident. What will make me feel scary enough and what will challenge me enough? That is where I decided to go on the business analyst path. And the ultimate goal was always being on the product side. But there were two ways I knew at that point in time, that become a BA, become an SA, and then go for the product management roles. So that was like, can't skip, let's do it.
Okay,
And after that, the path had been very fruitful. So that's about.
let's start from the beginning itself. So very basic question first. How did you get into engineering?
My educational background is I have completed MSc IT with, I guess some of you might already know, the prestigious institute named after Mr. Dhirubhai Ambani. It is called Dhirubhai Ambani Institute of Information and Communication Technology. I give a lot of credit to all the mentors I have had from that point on. But I was also stupid enough to think that, oh, consulting is something that may not be fun. And there was also a little bit of resistance on my part because I was big time introvert, unlike what you see now. And that is where that I would say fear came up, saying that in my head, this voice came up saying that, oh, you can't talk to customers just like that. And that was the point where I messed up with applying in these companies, which were great consultancies and whatnot. But as I said, I had great mentors. So even though I made kind of hybrid decision to go with associate consultant plus engineering role, they were there to guide me and make me understand that, okay, it is not something you can live with forever.
Okay, and how did you get into from engineering to a BA?
So that was an interesting journey. As I said, these project titles or project roles kept changing. Now, the thing that inspired me to see on the other side was the curiosity on, okay, let's say if the company is taking certain projects, how much is the revenue? How much are they gaining per person? Because I was also till some extent involved in resource management. So I had to give estimates around how many developer hours would we need, etc. So my mind started on that path, and I was also very keen on the other side of things, that okay, if customer is giving us this requirement and we have to implement given whatever product we are using, then what is the gain for them? And for that to happen, I had to push the boundaries and say, okay, I want to be on customer calls where you are actually talking about the real requirements or the real pain points. And I don't just want to get, okay, this is what you want, what we want, and this is how we want it to be. So that was a pivoting point. And I would also say some of it also came from the family background. I am the first one doing the job. I'm not implying anything. It is very small business, so nothing like that. But yeah, having seen that kind of mindset where you think about different things and don't restrict yourself to one particular perspective has helped me. So I give that credit to my
Okay. And so, did you ever think of starting your own business? Like being a Gujarati, it's in your genes only.
family. I did expect this. I won't lie. And yes, actually, my university had a very good program as well. They had incubation center and they're ready to fund their obviously policies like any other management or good IT college would have. So I did feel tempted, but then as I said, a small business, so it comes with its pain points. So I was like, okay, I can't compromise my life that much like these people do. Also, some friends from college did start their own startups. So at that point, they reached out asking for partnership and all. I was observing their journey and it was not easy. So my bet was on, okay, let me see the unexplored side, which I have not seen firsthand in my life. So let's see that and we'll see what happens later point in stage if that comes at all.
Okay, so let's come back to product management now. When it comes to product management, everyone these days feels like they want to be one. So, what would you say should be their previous experience or education background that would be better to apply for that kind of a job?
Before going there, because your question was very much relevant to this as well, as you may already know, product manager is called the CEO of product. So ultimately, you are running the business in very different way though, but you have to think about it from all the angles, and there could be angles like let's say security or legal ethics. There are various things which would come with this role, and I think the best way to understand what all things, obviously those will change company to company and whatnot, but at least to get a flavor of it, I would recommend that go for some certifications which are more on the customer centric side. For example, I went for master in design thinking and that is offered by MIT Sloan. I found it very fruitful, and that is also where I met some people who were totally unrelated to IT. But the interesting thing is product management is not restricted to IT. So you can be from any path and still be a product owner or product manager. So don't feel that you are alone in this. There are many people out there. And second, I would recommend is something which would give you not only the academic side of you, but kind of a hands-on experience. So you can obviously have your side hustles or see, go and talk to people, try to understand what is the unaddressed market and try to fill in that gap. It doesn't have to be a paid product. You can just treat it like a pet project. That would be another thing, but you can also go for such courses where you would get capstone projects with the pre content that would train you to become the product manager, which would kind of mold your mindset in that way. And for me, in my case, it was product school. So I am a certified product manager from product school. Luckily, we also got best product team for our capstone product. So yes, that's the recommendation.
So, how does a day of a product manager looks like?
That's an interesting one. So first of all, lots of meetings. That stereotype is right, but you have to be a very active listener and you have to know what to say when, also what not to say. And that I think is true for any consulting role as well, but especially when you are talking to customers and stakeholders, which will be many in this role. That is where much of your time will go into the discovery part or the negotiations or building the next roadmap. So first let me break down how the roadmaps are built and then we'll talk about why so many meetings. So you will be working on the quarterly roadmap and then you will also be working on long range plan. So now long range plan could differ from company to company or team to team, but usually it goes into the 1 month, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years cycle. Now again, it depends on whatever it is. So some of the tools to get or to build those roadmaps are through customer interviews, through surveys, through maybe your partners who are in roles where they get majority of the customer data or information. So that would be one side of it. Second side of it, your partners would always have different priorities. And because you have a collaborative, for example, I'm a platform product manager as well,
Hmm.
product owner, then you will also need to see, okay, which partner priority is coming. How do I weigh in these? Because you will be constantly prioritizing, and it is very true when they say ruthless prioritization, it is actually ruthless prioritization. And sometimes you won't have the required data at hand. So what do you do? So that is where you'll also have to spend the time in either finding the analytical points which would support your decision, or weighing your options business value wise, that okay, these are my priorities. So the part 2 of the day would look like that. Part 3, and this is not in sequence, I'm just categorizing on logical basis, is you have to be the front face for your team no matter what. So nobody is going to report to you until and unless obviously you are, again, some companies you may have product analysts or product owners reporting to you, but ultimately engineers won't report to you, or leads or architects won't. But you have to spend significant time understanding their point of view. I am not talking only about daily stand-ups or anything here. Obviously the sprint ceremonies will be there, but you also have to plan for every product or even every feature, and that needs to happen in collaboration with all of these people. So that would be third category. And fourth would be, how do you organize all of this that you have had? Your requirements, your research, your analytics, and all the ruthless prioritization that you did from business point of view. You connected with your engineering, architect, and other teams as required. Now, is it still making sense, or we need some adjustments? You will also be involved in designing some things, and you will also be discussing some of the priorities with your leadership and or our partners, and try to get everyone on the same page. So this is very high level, but yeah, I blabbed up.
Yeah. When you started in this role, what do you think were the some of the most challenging part of it? Or if you can highlight one or two moments.
So actually, when I joined as senior BA, that team particularly was strategy and operations. Now at that point, I realized that okay, we are looking into some things which are transactional, but we could also pivot towards okay, taking smaller products or maybe features and make it program plus product kind of thing. And that is where one challenge came up, that okay, how do I make it work? So for all the outbound product managers or those who are trying to be outbound product managers, you will face some sort of um, confusion at some level, let's say, that okay, I have to do this, but I don't know the way forward. How do I do this? And you haven't been tutored on okay, it is not just that it's a new product and you have to build it. There is existing product. Now you have to slightly shift the direction. How do you do that? So those were some challenges. Obviously, you will have to make people believe in you. So that would be a different challenge altogether. Why you are doing what you are doing, your intention needs to be very clear, and that always helps if you are able to define clear processes, or you are able to get help to define those clear processes, as well as make such partnerships who will be your advocates, who know that okay, if you have committed something and you have delivered it on time, but also if you are proposing something new, then you are not just shooting arrows in there. You have done your homework, and that is where your advocates, the partners who are your advocates,
Mhm.
will help you get the buy-ins. So these are some of the things which courses kind of touch upon, but they really don't discuss at depth on how to do it or what will you face in real
So they leave that part up to you to figure it out.
life. They did mention that hey, you will have to work with your partners, customers, leaders, and whatnot to get the buy-ins. But how to get buy-ins? That is like I just shared this one approach. We make partners your advocates. That is, and this is the lovely thing that I also heard from a mentor of mine. Don't just think of a commitment as a task in your to-do list, but also think of it as a promise. So once you showcase the integrity, then you automatically win some battles. Those which could go in totally different direction otherwise.
Yeah, that's a great advice. Just to reiterate for people who are looking for a career, apart from the certifications, what all they should highlight in their CV?
So one is definitely business acumen. And if you have had hard time developing it, try shadowing people who already have that kind of business acumen. I know not all the companies or even forget companies, even all the people might not be open to the shadowing. Companies wise, there are some companies who have shadowing programs, so you can join those if you are one of those you got lucky. Otherwise, relentlessly reach out to people. I have seen that ultimately some of them would obviously agree to let you shadow them. Try to have active conversations, just like you are asking me, what does your day look like?
Yeah.
Now, ask different types of people these questions and try to see that, okay, I am feeling that this is the right role for me. But one thing that I, for example, didn't realize when these courses and all said so, product management is a lonely job. And that is true. I mean, yes, you will have many meetings and whatnot, but some things will be you alone and you can't share it. And that I think is true for any leadership role, as in when you succeed more, it becomes lonelier. But there are several such aspects that you will discover when you talk to people who have achieved that already. And one thing that also helps is stay with those kind of people who have at least similar goals. Doesn't have to be product manager, product manager. You can go and study, or I wouldn't even call study, solve some things with business analysts, consultants. There are different types of roles. So do that exercise. Also read certain types of books. There are many books. Two of them I'll recommend: Hacking Growth and Product Mindset. Books like these help you see a fresh perspective. That is where you will be prepared for what is to come. So those are like different ways, and of course goes without saying the mentors that you must have. And one could be the domain expert. Another one, I mean, there is this five mentor thing that you can check on the TEDx site. But I would say keep at least two mentors. One is the domain specialist and one is the generalist or your advocate kind of one.
Yeah, and there must be a hierarchy to the product management roles as well, right? Or you directly become a owner of a product.
So different teams, different companies again have different hierarchies, but usually it goes like product analyst, senior product analyst, product owner, product manager, senior product manager, and henceforth again that top level hierarchy is
Okay.
a little dynamic. So I'll stop there.
And what do you think would be the next role for you, considering you have switched quite a lot and I think at the right time as well in your career?
I hope so. The next role I see for myself is senior product manager, and while I still get the business partnership offers, I am not immediately planning to become CEO of the company. I would stay as CEO of the product or products. Currently, I manage various products, various frameworks. So I would like to, I would say, expand that footprint. And I'm still figuring out if I want to move on the people management side. But yes, I have just completed my women in leadership program, so we'll see that in some time.
When you talk about people management, is it related to HR or something else?
No, so senior product manager, that was intentional. by the way. When we say senior product managers, there are different types of senior product managers. One would have the increase in their portfolio, as in they will be handling multiple work streams or multiple tracks, for example. And there will be another type that not only will they manage multiple tracks, but they'll also manage people who could be the product owners or product managers.
Oh,
Now, again, keep in mind that some companies would give you product manager title, but you might be product owner for certain product or certain scrum team.
yeah.
So these are two possibilities that I currently know of. And again, the number of tracks or work streams can vary. So if you are very good at negotiating, I have seen some people negotiating on that. So that is another door opening for you.
And like AI came in, I would say this decade properly. So what was the difference, like specifically in Salesforce, between a product manager and now a AI product manager?
AI actually has existed for over 100 years, but I agree the hype came in
Yeah.
properly since like 2, 3 years now. The interesting thing with Salesforce is we already started our AI journey with Einstein prediction. But yes, I remember that because when I was part of the previous company, we were trying to build bots for our hackathon. And that is where we use Salesforce product with that footprint. And now that this is the case, you all would have seen how fantastic Agent Force is. So the pivotal moment is obviously because the AI portfolio itself was more on the traditional AI side. There was not a lot of reasoning involved. So this reasoning is the new era, and Gen AI, sure, many people have thought of RAG and whatnot, which obviously Salesforce also offers with the trust layer that is not usually offered. But now with Agent Force, we are also getting Atlas, which is the reasoning engine. And I think this is kind of repetitive for audience because if anyone from Salesforce ecosystem is tuning in, that they obviously know. But taking actions based on that reasoning, all of that is new from the product and portfolio perspective. Now, how does this reflect in the journey? So traditional, I wouldn't even call traditional PMs, but there are different types of PMs. And those vary with AI. I mean, those responsibilities vary with AI. PM's responsibility is one thing is AI moves at such a pace that you just can't afford to fall behind. So that is one of the challenges you have to prepare yourself for. You have to also think very strategically that you can't just fit in AI into every scenario or every use case. No, that is not happening. You need to still stick to the basics that, okay, what is the customer's pain point? What is the business value? How would I align the goals of my business or my org, my department with the customer pain points and then see where the AI fits. And you have to also weigh in all these options that are available. I am biased. Obviously, I would advocate Agent Force. It fits for all my use cases. So, yeah, of course. But for those who are looking for SMBs, let's say maybe, I mean, not even SMBs because Salesforce now caters to every vertical, but I'm just saying that, okay, let's say that you have tried to sell Agent Force a lot but somehow your customer did not agree and they want to go with some alternate options. Then what could you do? You have to weigh all the open source options that you have. So that is definitely one. But you also have to understand that building your own model, which again is a kind of rat race that is happening these days, does that really mean well for customers? Because are you saying the license cost would be higher as compared to building your own model? No. You need to understand that and you need to see these costing factors. And it is not just about building that model. That model needs to be continuously trained, that model needs to be fine tuned, and it needs a lot of maintenance. There are environmental impacts as well, not to mention ethical. So weighing such options is very important. Meanwhile, defining the strategy. So now let's say that you made the mistake of not buying agent force, for example. Then how do you recover from that mistake? So that planning should also happen very actively. You need to have some mitigation plans in place while not disrupting the business. So always keep your options ready, because the AI market is very, very fast paced, and it is very easy to lose customers in these days and time. But obviously, you have to again play on that intrapersonal side of yours and see how well you can address different kind of use cases, so that even if one went in certain direction, your another use case or other products
Hmm.
are not just following one direction.
Yeah. Can you give an example of such use case, maybe from your personal case or any customer use case where it really helped?
This particular team had built something on with help of RAG. We all know it is very cool and it is very effective as well overall if we see. But in their particular use case, I can't reveal the use case because it is that company's confidential scenario. That way, they had already invested, let's say, around 5 to 6 months in building that particular. They are not exactly going for building the entire model, but they are ultimately building a layer upon what OpenAI has to offer.
Hmm.
So now they invested 6 months and let's say $X,000. They had done that, and after that they realized, oh, this is getting more and more expensive. Luckily for them, they had four more products going on at the same time, where they had analyzed on the Salesforce offering. There are two, three more companies which are not related to CRM. This company has a pretty wide portfolio. So they had different kinds of products. And this person that I was talking to handles different verticals, let's say. So luckily they had that kind of analysis, and they went into the exploration mode of trying these different offerings by different companies, and they had that plan ready. That exploration helped them decide that okay, going forward we have to go with this particular offering. Luckily, again, because this person was talking to me, it happened to be one of the Salesforce products. But yeah, that was how it went, the journey of exploration, the journey of decision making.
Do you think AI would live up to the hype that has been created?
In what way?
In any way?
Do you mean to ask, will it eliminate humans and all that, or do you mean our jobs will be impacted?
I think that has been answered by a lot of people. It's because it has happened continuously as technology has advanced. So, in terms of like actually helping people.
That is still happening, but it will keep getting better and better. For example, yes, I think other guests might have talked about it too, that the job market is being impacted and is going to be impacted. So while that is true, there are also some amazing innovations. For example, let's say if we see in the medical industry, some things which couldn't have been possible. Let's consider the example of brain mapping. It is not an easy job to do, but with help of AI, we are able to do it, right? So there will be applications which will prove to be of significant help to not just humankind, but in our day-to-day jobs as well. And I'm sure again pivoting towards agent force, it is not just an assistant or chatbot. It is doing your job wherever you find it monotonous. Obviously, it has guardrails, so it is still your decision what shall you allow. So that is there. But for example, I was talking to someone yesterday, and this person is like, "Oh my god, I'm so fed up of creating PPTs. I don't want to do it." Some person the other day said, "Okay, I don't want to even check my emails. There are over 1,500 emails unread in my inbox currently." So these things are, I would say, at least for some people, monotonous things. So why not start with that? That could be the stepping stone. and gradually progress till some things which would free up your time in a way that you can focus more on the creative side, not just doing the job side.
Hmm.
Today, all of us might have something in our lives, professional lives, which would seem okay, this is boring, or this is just administrative work or operational work. There are different labels that different people give. So I feel that that portion entirely will be removed gradually with AI. And creative thing, yes, it is doing the creative jobs as well. But ultimately, if let's say you and I are talking, this will always remain different.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like you came up with the questions impromptu, the quality of questions that you have asked versus anyone else or the pre-trained models asking
Hmm.
would definitely be different because we still have that potential for our minds to roam like monkeys.
Yeah.
So, yes, I hope that answers.
Yeah, you've summed it up really well, actually. And talking about models, what would you say, like, how easy or tough and how expensive or cheap is it for someone to build an AI model?
I can't give you again the numbers, but I would just say it is excruciatingly painful, first of all. Also, it is very expensive. There are environmental impacts, for example, if you consider ChatGPT alone, anywhere from 5 to 15 prompts cost 1 liter of water. I am sure that they are working on optimizing it, but yes, that is also a reality. So, are you ready to pay that price? One is definitely the cost that you have to incur on the infrastructure, not only the big data part, or you understand the infrastructure side of it, but also are you thinking actually for your money only or for other factors? So, that is also one thing that I would like our audiences to think of.
It can be anything. Like for anyone who would be interested in entering the AI world, they would first probably work on some personal project. Maybe start with a basic chatbot or something like that.
So that is, I would say it is, it again boils down to a concept which is like purchase versus build. I would much rather go personally for purchase wherever possible because you would also see many companies doing partnerships. They don't reinvent the wheel. So why waste resources? And by resources, I mean everything from water to human hours, everything considered. So that is one thing, but I understand that there are several sites where you get this free education or even many YouTube videos which are training you to build the models. But are those really meant for scale? Also, are you really focused on solving the problem? Or are you more towards, okay, technologically something new happened, तो मुझे तो दिखाना है कि I know the best. That mindset shift needs to happen. There will always be some scenarios where it is essential to build these models where let's say some languages are not supported, then those are the models which will be required. Or, for example, there are several things being discussed in how can technology be for good or AI for good. And then, as part of those programs, there are the models which are being built, but those have also been the use cases or the scenarios have been very well vetted out, and that is where it is essential to build, but they do have that kind of right resources, the expenses they can afford.
We were talking about different companies like using AI and all. So, like there are a lot of startups or companies who say they are AI based, but they're not really. So, is it since you are in the AI industry yourself, is it easy to differentiate, or they're just fooling themselves?
Some of them don't like it when I say it to them. I have obviously met some entrepreneurs, and not any prediction or not every chatbot is AI. No, that is not the real deal. And for example, you would have also seen, if you haven't seen the Dreamforce videos, I would ask you to go and watch them now. But yeah, there are significant differences between what you call collection of prompts and putting the good wrapper on if else statements or saying that hey, this is the bot that we have created, which ultimately is nothing but a script at backend. And then there is unlocking potential of AI. That is where one should be able to differentiate, okay, is this something that we are saying, as I think I mentioned this before, you can't push or fit AI into every scenario. That is just a gimmick, I would say.
Hmm.
But you have to realize from what is this stemming. Now, let's say you can have structured data, you can have unstructured data. There are thousands of places from where your data might be. I mean, I'm talking about the conglomerates here. There might be several sources from where your data is coming up. Now, there is one way to standardize this, streamline this. Now, utilizing this data and building, let's say, something which would be for, again, because we are talking about the medical use case, health industry. Can you really solve a problem? There are several diseases which are for which there are regular or at some frequency medication. Can you build something with it which would help the scientists, the researchers to find the solution, and these patients wouldn't have to take regular medication? May there might be other solution. Are you solving that kind of scenario? Because that is doable. Obviously, you will face challenges, but with the upcoming progression with AI, you don't have to think that, oh my god, that this is a bottleneck. At least try finding such things. And as I say, don't fool yourself with just sugarcoating things.
Yeah. Mentioning that it would help researchers or scientists. Now, I read this book, The Coming Wave. So, like the best use case I feel right now is helping the medical field only, especially with the protein breakdowns, because AI can do that. Like that amount of data manually takes years, which can be done within days now. So, I think that is the best use case which is there right now.
True, true.
Coming back to product management, just a couple more points there. What do you think are some of the misconceptions that people feel about this role?
So one is that, and this might sound a little crude, but many people think that product managers are the ones who couldn't excel at anything. So they went with product management. That is so not true.
That is surprising, actually.
Yeah, but that is actually also the misconception which people don't openly talk about. So that is one. Then that obviously comes with that level of thinking that, okay, we fool them and they wouldn't understand. Again, not true. On the other side, it is more like people also think that their job is only collaboration. While collaboration is a significant part of product management, it does not end there. It is one of 100 things, and it shouldn't make you feel any less. But yeah, the striking difference, which would be in any coordination type of role versus product management, would be your side of the discovery, the ideation, the strategic leadership, the thought leadership. How much time are you putting in to understand, weigh in the perspectives as we discussed previously? And sometimes you won't be the decision maker, or majority of the times you won't be the decision maker. So how do you turn that tide? It doesn't have to be your idea or your decision always which has to be followed. So you have to keep that aside. You have to be obsessed with the customer centricity. So that is very real. And that is also perceived as, ओ इसको तो जो बोलो उसको हाँ बोल देती है. Shouldn't be the case. So that is another misconception, that these guys are yes sayers. Or if it is alternate, these guys don't say yes to anything at all.
Hmm.
Guys, girls. So that is another stereotype, or that is another misconception, that you will have to kind of fight if you are in such an environment. I am fortunately part of such a culture where none of this exists, and my team, my leadership is very, very supportive and very open minded. So I'm very vocal that okay, I think this should happen, etc. So they are thankfully very supportive. So I hope that majority of the people, at least if not all, get that kind of culture.
Talking about like culture and collaborations, and since you are in a big MNC, you must have worked with people from all over the world. So, what would you say would be like key learnings you got while working with them or anything like that?
Yes. So I think that I would say perspective at least 5 to 10 number of times so far. But there is this research which has proven to be very true that if you really try to break down the types of personalities in your team, which also interestingly has a correlation with the geography that people belong to, then you will see various things which would be interesting to you. Now, product management is such a role where you again don't have direct reports, but you have to lead by influence. So, not only will you be able to customize your messaging, your style of working with different kinds of personalities, but you will also learn a lot from them. And that I think is the biggest benefit I have had. I have worked with pretty much every continent's team so far.
Hmm.
So that way, I guess my name justifies.
Yeah.
And that also kind of ignites the next level of ideation within you. Because now you have seen that, okay, this is certain thought process and this person or this particular team is thinking in this way. Why are they thinking in that way? That is how you
Hmm.
will also find the points. Oh, this could also happen. So that moment of euphoria or those moments of euphoria would happen when you are working in, I would say, when you are considering more personalities or more perspectives.
Hmm. That's interesting. Can you give an example of such incident?
Yes, so I had this, and this is again not from Salesforce but the previous company. It was a struggle to understand when French customers talked in English. And I was like, oh my God. And they would also, it was not their fault or anything, but there are always certain ways people talk. We also use Indian English, which is difficult for others to understand. But this was also an interesting thing where I saw where their mind is gravitating. And they kept switching between French and English wherever required. There were some cultural aspects where things between different cultures would sit well, but where somewhere it would not sit well. The way that they thought helped me understand what is their level of threshold, how their expectations change. Now, because I discovered that okay, these people have this thought process, the French people or this particular French customer has this kind of thought process. I was able to understand why they are expecting things in a certain or at a certain threshold. How do I customize my message again? As per them, product is not that easy to be customized, obviously, but I was also in professional services. So my focus would be customizing the message and customizing the solution. So they were also very receptive of something which was as big as a paradigm shift. So once you, obviously, this was again ultimately a customer, so not easy to convince, but not every customer would have agreed to that paradigm shift. So that is one use case or one example, I would say, where understanding the individuality, the way they think, the way they expect things, and then customizing your solutions
Hmm.
and asking your team, if you are, let's say, a team lead or any leadership role, certain nuances, if you take care of it, then your relationship management gets pretty easy.
Yeah, I think the leadership has grown on you. Do you have any favorite continents or countries in terms of people?
I think all of them have helped me learn so much that it would be unfair to pick a favorite.
Nice diplomatic answer.
No, actually, because this, and I would even go till extent I have had so good relationships. I would just give this example. And there I remember this because this was my first on-site to US, and we had a 2 weeks kind of training the customers thing. I was asked for a weekend getaway where not only did these ladies took care of me like their own sister, and some of them were from America, some of them were from Argentina, some of them were from Brazil, some of them were from different other countries. But all in all of them not only uh, connected at a personal level, but they also made sure that because I'm vegetarian, they have the list of all the vegetarian options. I had a little thing about walking that I don't walk so much as you people do. And they had various other things. So it is not just the learnings, but again with different cultures, the different kind of warmth that I have been fortunate to experience. That is why I feel it would be unfair to even compare.
Okay, that is amazing. So, like we talked about product management in AI and in the IT industry, what would you say would be any major or key differences in the product management role, but in other industries?
Yes. So, for example, if you are part of finance or healthcare, or even forget finance or healthcare, let's take something totally different, automobile,
Yeah.
uh, Formula One fans.
Okay.
So, what would your areas of focus be? Now, your customers, if you are in that wonderful team, which is again the Formula One team itself, then speed optimization would, for example, be your lookout that, okay, how am I going to focus on this? Then obviously you would have to be very savvy when it comes to the types of engines, modeling the entire car, the level of comfort that these drivers would get while also ensuring their safety. So as and when your industry shifts, definitely your focus shifts, but the fundamentals still stay true that, okay, I have to find pain points. If my team is lagging at number 7, number 8, why is it happening? And what are they frustrated about? Not only the drivers, but the principals. What are they looking for? So that customer or partner obsession is actually very real, and that stays true irrespective of whichever industry you are targeting.
You seem like a fan of an automobile. So, do you like have a dream car or anything?
Yes, Tesla.
He's almost in India now.
Yeah, I am waiting to see how it will navigate in India. So that is one. I have few other favorites, but I would settle for Bugatti Chiron, which is way beyond my budget currently. But yeah, that would be the one which would be non-electronic side of things. But yes, the one which I am very keen to ride.
Yeah. Okay. So, I think let's end this. Do you have any parting words for young professionals? Like, they can be doing anything like engineering, product management, or like some things they should be doing.
So one thing is, when I started exploring these courses, I also saw how the market is now. Obviously, there have been significant changes because of the AI. I wouldn't call it hype, but I would call it intervention. So with AI intervention, obviously the market has changed, but I still think that people from different walks of the world have very good chances. So just try and focus to be a package which is a well-rounded package. Just like Salesforce says, customer 360, become product 360, and that would open the gates towards any product roles. You don't have to be product manager immediately. I also did not started that way. So be okay with taking some roles which are not directly PM roles, because we talked about fancy sites, but I can bet that there are some sites which would make you question decision if you dive into it too fast or too soon.
Yeah, I think we have mostly covered the points, but anything to add for anyone preparing for an interview?
Think about the financial and business aspect as well. How are you adding the value to business? And it is not only through ideas, it is also through the way you take the entire journey of the product. So think about that. Think about return on investment. That is not something which is particular to any role. There might be again different companies, different teams operate different ways. But do your own exercise on if you had to build a product for this particular problem. How would you think about return on investment and what all factors really go into it? So start thinking on that side. So that will be one indicator. Even if you don't have data, your such analytical skills or even guesstimates would guide you in the right path. Obviously, your company, your org would have predetermined goals. So this will help you align to those goals better.
Wonderful. So we are done with suggesting young people what they should do. Any message for if any senior people are watching, what they shouldn't be doing?
I would say that at certain level, we do get, or at least what I have heard is there is a certain mindset which results into complacency, and that complacency either reflects to saying yes to pretty much anything and everything. So that is one thing that could change. And that again, this is not based on any personal experiences, but because I network with different people, they have said, okay, now I need to start saying no because I have not been doing it actively. Now that is the point, and these have been some senior leaders. And another thing would be while you are delegating, you delegate in a way that obviously not just people and their mindset grow, but because my manager at least does a very good job at this, so I am literally taking this from my experience. He is a gem of a person, and I can't emphasize enough on that. So not only are you creating the academic growth opportunities, but give them the opportunities to actually implement that. This ROI thing also kind of came from that there, but what other potentials are or what other skills are there which are not visible to your reports or anyone you are even mentoring? Make them see those and give them the opportunity to deep dive into it and grow in that aspect. So those would be the primary ones.
Awesome. I'm sure this message is not only for senior people, but would help the youngsters as well to differentiate between good and bad managers. So yeah. So thanks a lot, Lucky, for having this conversation.
Thank you for having me.